You've seen the smoke. Maybe it was your own sky going orange, maybe it was a fire 2 states away that still turned your sunset brown and lit up your phone with an air quality warning. The Megafire is just part of American life now, a season we brace for the way we used to brace for winter. And here's the thing almost nobody knows. The reason those fires get this big traces back to one rule the country picked on purpose. Every fire in its forests has to be put out. That rule wasn't obvious, and it wasn't inevitable. It got locked in by 2 days of wind over Idaho and Montana in 1910, a windstorm almost nobody remembers. I'm Nick, your host for this week's episode of The Weather Vault. On August 20th, 1910, a dry cold front drove hurricane-force winds across the Northern Rockies and turned hundreds of small fires into one firestorm. The catastrophe that followed handed the country a single answer it would live by for decades. Here's what you have to understand about that summer. Whether to fight a forest fire at all was still a real question. One side, drawing on what native communities and a lot of western settlers had long done, argued for light burning, that a small regular fire was good for the woods because it cleared out the fuel. The Forest Service said the opposite, that every fire was an enemy. And the Forest Service was barely standing. It was 5 years old, its founding chief had been fired that January, and Congress had been cutting its budget, full of men who saw no reason Washington should run the woods at all. The argument was wide open. Through the dry months, small fires dotted Idaho and Montana, and crews were holding them one by one, the ordinary grind of a bad season. Then on August 20th, the front drove winds up to 70 miles an hour across the mountains, and the wind did the one thing the crews couldn't survive. It gathered the scattered fires into a single wall of flame nobody could fight. In 2 days, the blow-up ate 3 million acres and $1 billion of timber, took a third of the town of Wallace down to ash, and killed 87 people. 78 of them were firefighters. 5 miles south of Wallace, a ranger named Ed Pulaski had a crew of 45 men. When the fire ran them down, he drove everyone into an abandoned mine tunnel and held them there with a drawn pistol. "The first man who tries to leave this tunnel, I will shoot," he told them, and he laid across the entrance while the fire passed over. All but 5 lived. The next year, burned and half blind, he forged the tool that still carries his name, an axe on one side and a mattock on the other, made to cut and dig a fire line. The men who fought the big burn were heroes in every newspaper in the country, and that grief turned into political will. The Congress that had been starving the Forest Service doubled its budget instead. The new chief, Henry Graves, staked the whole survival of the agency on one promise, that it could defeat fire. The light burning argument was declared dead, and in 1935 it hardened into a literal rule, the 10 a.m. policy, which ordered every new fire put out by 10 o'clock the morning after it was found. Now here's why it had to be the weather. The fires already existed. The front didn't start a single one of them. Take away that one windstorm and the crews keep holding the fires one by one like they had been all summer. No firestorm, no 87 dead, no heroes. The argument over light burning stays open, and the weak little agency that wanted to stamp out every fire never gets the catastrophe that saved it. Without those 2 days of wind, the war on fire never starts. So it started, and it worked. And that's the problem you're living under right now. Smothering the small fires let the dead wood and brush they would have cleared pile up year after year across the public forests. A California woodland that once held about 64 trees an acre now holds closer to 300. By suppressing fires so well for so long, in the words of one Forest Service lookout, the agencies, quote, "groomed the nation's forests for the age of the megafire," end quote. Today, 63 million acres of national forest, an area the size of Oregon, stand at high risk of catastrophic fire. The smoke in your sky, the evacuation maps, the fire seasons that keep breaking records, all of it is the bill for decades of putting out every fire. And Pulaski's axe outlived every man who stood with him in that tunnel. It rides on the side of every wildland fire truck in the country, The whole war shrunk down to a thing a firefighter holds in two hands. A 2-day windstorm in 1910 committed the country to that war, and the fuel it grew is what's burning now. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to always be informed of my latest videos.